For thousands of years, the galaxy had known war. Powerful alien empires had fought each other across the stars. Massive fleets clashed in deep space, and entire planets changed rulers many times. But even after all those wars, there was one conflict the galaxy would never forget. It was the war with humanity. At first, no one thought humans were dangerous. Compared to many alien civilizations, humans were still new to space travel. Their technology was good, but it was not the most advanced. Their fleets were strong, but they were not the largest. To the great alien empires, humans looked like a small rising species that could easily be controlled. The Zyther Dominion, one of the most powerful alliances in the galaxy, believed the same thing. Their leaders watched humanity expand slowly from Earth to nearby star systems. Human colonies appeared on distant planets, mining resources and building cities under strange alien skies. The Zyther Dominion did not like this. They believed humans were moving too fast. A young species should not grow so quickly. So the Dominion decided to stop them. One quiet morning on the human colony world of Nova Prime, thousands of civilians woke up to a sky filled with enormous alien warships. Dark metal vessels blocked the sunlight as they entered orbit. No warning. No message. Just war. Within minutes, the alien fleet began its attack. Bright beams of energy fell from the sky like lightning. Human defense stations tried to fight back, but they were heavily outnumbered. Cities burned. Defense ships exploded in orbit. And millions of people watched helplessly as their peaceful colony became a battlefield. Across the galaxy, news of the attack spread quickly. Many alien races believed the war would end very soon. The Zyther Dominion had destroyed dozens of civilizations before. Compared to those ancient empires, humanity was still young. The outcome seemed obvious. But the humans did something unexpected. They did not surrender. Within hours, human fleets began moving across space. Ships from Earth, Mars, and dozens of other colonies gathered together. The United Earth Command declared that the attack on Nova Prime was an act of war. The galaxy prepared to watch another short conflict. But something strange happened. At first, the war looked normal. Large space battles happened near human territory. Alien fleets fought human warships in brutal combat. Many ships were destroyed on both sides. But then the fighting suddenly changed. Human fleets began to disappear. Entire groups of human warships stopped appearing on battle reports. Alien commanders believed they were retreating. The Dominion thought victory was getting closer. Then the first strange report arrived. A Zyther fleet guarding a mining system had suddenly gone silent. 30 warships. All destroyed. No enemy fleet was detected. The Dominion believed it was a mistake. Maybe the ships had suffered a reactor accident or navigation failure. But then it happened again. Another fleet vanished. Then another. Soon military bases began going dark. Communication stations stopped responding. Even heavily protected command ships disappeared in deep space. Panic slowly began spreading among Dominion commanders. Something was hunting their fleets. But it was not fighting like a normal army. There were no large human battle groups. No warning signals. No visible attacks. Only silence. And destruction. Alien soldiers started whispering strange rumors. Some claimed dark human ships appeared without warning. Others said human soldiers boarded their vessels from the shadows. Entire crews vanished before alarms could even sound. Many did not believe these stories. Until the survivors started arriving. Damaged escape pods were found drifting through space. Terrified alien soldiers told the same story again and again. They said the attackers moved silently through their ships. They said the humans did not stop. They said their soldiers fought like something beyond ordinary warriors. Across the Dominion, a new name began spreading through the military. A name spoken with fear. Alien commanders began calling them the monsters of Earth. Because wherever they appeared, entire fleets died. But on Earth, military leaders used a very different name. To humanity, they were not monsters. They were simply special forces. And the galaxy was only beginning to learn why they were so terrifying. After the first fleets disappeared, the leaders of the Zyther Dominion refused to believe the rumors. They were an ancient empire. They had defeated powerful civilizations long before humanity ever left Earth. To them, humans were still young. There was no way a young species could destroy Dominion fleets so easily. At least, that was what they believed. But the reports kept coming. Another fleet vanished near the outer systems. Then a military outpost stopped sending signals. Soon even the Dominion's heavy warships began disappearing. The strange thing was that no large human fleets were ever seen. Dominion sensors watched every nearby star system. Their scanners could detect ships from millions of kilometers away. But every time a fleet was destroyed, the sensors showed nothing. It was as if the enemy did not exist. Dominion commanders started sending investigation ships to the last known locations of the missing fleets. What they found was terrifying. Broken warships drifted silently in space. Their armor had been cut open from the inside. Some ships had entire sections missing, as if explosions had torn them apart. But the strangest part was the crews. Most of the ships were empty. No bodies. No survivors. Just silence. Fear slowly began spreading through the Dominion military. Their soldiers were trained for war, but this was different. They were used to fighting fleets and armies. Not ghosts. Soon, a few escape pods began appearing near Dominion space stations. Inside were the only survivors from the destroyed fleets. The alien soldiers inside were terrified. Their stories were almost impossible to believe. They said the attack began without warning. The lights inside their ship suddenly went out. Communication systems failed. Defense turrets stopped working. Then the doors opened. Human soldiers appeared from the darkness. Not large armies. Small teams. 5, maybe 6 soldiers. But they moved faster than any normal troops. They attacked command centers first. Then the engine rooms. Then the weapon systems. Before the crew could react, the ship was already lost. Dominion officers listened to these reports carefully. At first, they believed the survivors were confused. Maybe they had panicked during the battle. But when more survivors told the exact same story, the commanders began to worry. These humans were not fighting normal battles. They were attacking from the inside. Soon Dominion intelligence discovered the truth. The attackers were part of a secret human military division. Elite soldiers trained for impossible missions. Small teams that could infiltrate enemy ships, stations, and even planets. Humans called them special forces. They did not fight wars like normal soldiers. They ended wars before they truly began. Dominion leaders were furious. They believed such tactics were dishonorable. War was supposed to be fought between fleets and armies, not hidden attacks from the shadows. So the Dominion decided to change their strategy. If humans wanted to fight from the darkness, the Dominion would bring the war into the open. They began building something new. Something massive. A fortress so powerful that no small team of soldiers could ever destroy it. A station the size of a small moon. Thousands of warships would protect it. Millions of soldiers would guard every hallway. It would become the center of Dominion power in the war. They called it the Iron Crown. Once it was finished, the Dominion planned to launch their final attack against humanity. They believed the fortress would end the war forever. Human special forces would never be able to reach it. No infiltration. No sabotage. No monsters in the dark. But far away, on Earth, Human military command was already studying the Iron Crown. And they knew something the Dominion did not. Even the strongest fortress in the galaxy was still vulnerable to the right soldiers. Soon, a small special forces team would receive a mission. A mission that sounded completely impossible. 6 human soldiers. 1 fortress the size of a moon. And a plan that could end the entire war. The Iron Crown Fortress was the greatest military project the Zyther Dominion had ever built. It floated in deep space near the center of their territory, protected by endless layers of defense. Thousands of warships surrounded it at all times. Heavy weapon platforms orbited the station like metal moons. Inside the fortress, millions of soldiers worked day and night to keep the station running. The Dominion believed it was completely safe. No fleet could reach it without being destroyed. No army could break through its defenses. And most importantly, no small team of human soldiers could ever get close enough to harm it. At least, that was what they believed. But on Earth, the leaders of the United Earth Command were watching the fortress very carefully. The Iron Crown was more than just a station. It had become the heart of the Dominion war effort. Every fleet movement, every battle order, and every military signal passed through that fortress. If the station survived, the Dominion could continue the war forever. If the station fell, the entire Dominion military would lose its command center. The war would collapse. Human strategists studied the fortress for weeks. Satellite drones and long-range scanners collected every possible piece of information. The results were clear. Destroying the Iron Crown with a fleet would be impossible. But there was another option. Human special forces. Deep inside a secure military base on Earth, 6 soldiers sat around a simple metal table. They were not famous heroes. Their names were not known across the galaxy. But each of them had already survived missions that most soldiers would never return from. Captain Elias Ward was their leader. Calm, quiet, and extremely focused. He had spent most of his life fighting in the darkest parts of the war. Next to him sat Sergeant Mara Vance, the team's technology specialist. She could break through enemy security systems faster than most computers. Lieutenant Cole Ramirez was the demolitions expert. If something needed to explode, he knew exactly how to make it happen. The remaining 3 soldiers were just as skilled, elite fighters trained for combat in space, on planets, and inside enemy ships. Together, they formed one of the best special forces teams humanity had. A military officer entered the room and activated the large screen behind the table. The Iron Crown appeared. Even the soldiers were silent for a moment. The fortress was enormous. Endless layers of metal armor surrounded the station. Hundreds of weapon systems glowed across its surface. Ramirez slowly shook his head. That thing is bigger than some cities. The officer nodded. Yes. And it controls the entire Dominion war effort. Captain Ward crossed his arms. So you want us to destroy it? The officer looked directly at him. Yes. For a moment, no one spoke. Even for special forces, this sounded impossible. 6 soldiers against a fortress protected by thousands of warships and millions of guards. Finally, Sergeant Vance leaned forward slightly. How close can we get? The officer changed the image on the screen. A small maintenance port appeared on the side of the fortress. This is the only weak point we've found. It's used for repair drones. Very small. Not meant for ships. Ward studied the image carefully. But a stealth transport could reach it. The officer nodded. If the cloaking system works long enough. Ramirez smiled slightly. And once we're inside? Ward answered before the officer could speak. We find the reactor core. The room grew quiet again. Everyone understood what that meant. If they could reach the reactor and destroy it, the Iron Crown would collapse from the inside. But reaching the reactor would mean fighting through one of the most heavily guarded stations in the galaxy. Millions of soldiers. Security systems everywhere. Zero chance of rescue if something went wrong. The officer looked at the team one last time. This mission is classified at the highest level. Officially, it will never exist. Ward stood up slowly. When do we leave? The officer answered with a single word. Tonight. Far across space, the Iron Crown continued floating in silence, surrounded by thousands of Dominion warships. Its commanders believed their fortress was untouchable. They believed no enemy could ever reach them. But in the darkness between the stars, a small human stealth ship had already begun its journey. Inside were 6 soldiers. And the galaxy was about to witness something it would never forget. The Iron Crown floated in deep space like a dark metal moon. Its massive structure stretched for hundreds of kilometers, covered with heavy armor and powerful weapon systems. Around it, thousands of Dominion warships formed a protective ring. Nothing could enter this area without being detected. Or at least, that was what the Dominion believed. Far away from the fortress, a small human stealth transport moved silently through the darkness of space. Its engines produced almost no energy signature. Its hull bent light around it, hiding the ship from most scanners. Inside the transport, 6 soldiers prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Captain Elias Ward stood near the cockpit window, watching the distant lights of the Iron Crown grow larger. Behind him, Sergeant Mara Vance worked quickly on a portable computer, studying the fortress security network. Ramirez checked the explosives stored in his combat pack. No one spoke much. They all knew the risk. If the Dominion discovered them, thousands of warships would surround them within minutes. There would be no escape. After several long minutes, the pilot finally spoke. "We are approaching the defense perimeter." Every soldier instantly became focused. Outside the ship, massive Dominion battleships slowly passed through space like giant predators. Their weapons were powerful enough to destroy planets. But the stealth ship slipped between them like a shadow. Dominion scanners detected nothing. Soon the Iron Crown filled the entire view outside the window. The fortress looked even larger up close. Endless towers, weapon batteries, and defense systems covered every part of its surface. Captain Ward pointed toward a small dark area on the side of the station. The maintenance port. The pilot slowly guided the transport closer. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. One wrong signal. One small energy spike. And the entire Dominion fleet would know they were there. Finally, the stealth ship reached the port. Ward turned to the team. Time to work. The soldiers activated their combat suits and helmets. Their armor was light but extremely advanced, designed for silent movement and zero-gravity combat. The airlock opened. Cold space surrounded them. Using magnetic boots, the team moved carefully along the surface of the fortress until they reached the maintenance hatch. Sergeant Vance connected a small device to the control panel. Dominion security systems tried to stop her. But within seconds, the door unlocked. The hatch slowly opened. Darkness waited inside. Ward stepped forward first. "Move." One by one, the soldiers entered the Iron Crown. Inside the fortress, the hallways were quiet. Maintenance corridors rarely had guards because the Dominion believed no enemy could ever reach this area. That belief would soon become their biggest mistake. The team moved quickly through the corridors, following the digital map in Vance's visor. Their target was deep inside the station. The reactor core. But soon their presence was discovered. A patrol of Dominion soldiers turned a corner and froze when they saw the humans. For a brief moment, both sides stared at each other. Then the battle began. The Special Forces team moved with incredible speed. Their weapons were silent but deadly. Within seconds, the patrol was down. But alarms soon followed. Red warning lights filled the corridors. Dominion soldiers began rushing through the fortress. The humans did not slow down. They fought through hallway after hallway, moving deeper toward the reactor core. Explosions shook parts of the station as Ramirez destroyed defense systems along the way. Vance hacked doors and security locks, opening paths that the Dominion thought were impossible to breach. Finally, after one intense hour of fighting, they reached the reactor chamber. The room was enormous. At its center stood the power core of the entire fortress. If it exploded, the Iron Crown would die. Ramirez quickly placed several explosive charges around the reactor structure. Ward checked the timer. 2 minutes. The team immediately began running back toward the escape route. Dominion soldiers chased them through the corridors, but the humans moved too fast. They reached the maintenance port just as the stealth transport returned to pick them up. The moment the ship cleared the fortress surface, the reactor exploded. A massive chain reaction spread through the Iron Crown. The giant station began breaking apart from the inside. Across space, thousands of Dominion warships watched in shock as their greatest fortress collapsed in flames. 6 human soldiers had done the impossible. The Iron Crown was gone. And the galaxy would never forget the night it fell. The destruction of the Iron Crown sent shockwaves across the entire galaxy. For years, the Zyther Dominion had been one of the most powerful military empires among the stars. Their fleets were massive. Their armies were endless. Their technology had defeated many civilizations before humanity ever discovered space travel. But now their greatest fortress was gone. And it had been destroyed by only 6 human soldiers. Across Dominion space, panic began spreading through the military. Command centers received thousands of emergency messages. Fleets demanded new orders, but the main command network had collapsed when the Iron Crown exploded. Without the fortress, the Dominion suddenly lost control of its own war. Meanwhile, news of the event spread far beyond the battlefield. Alien governments across the galaxy watched the reports with disbelief. Many races had feared the Dominion for centuries. Now they were watching it fall apart. Military analysts studied every piece of data they could find. They looked at battle recordings, sensor logs, and the few survivor reports from the fortress. The conclusion was always the same. The Iron Crown had not been destroyed by a fleet. It had been destroyed from the inside. By humans. And not by a large army. Just a small team of elite soldiers. Soon the same phrase began appearing in military reports across dozens of alien civilizations. Human Special Forces. The name spread quickly. At first, some alien leaders thought the stories were exaggerated. But Dominion survivors confirmed the truth again and again. They spoke about human soldiers moving through the fortress like shadows. They spoke about silent weapons and impossible tactics. They spoke about warriors who refused to stop even when surrounded. Some soldiers even claimed the humans seemed calm during the entire attack, as if the impossible mission had been just another ordinary assignment. For the Dominion, the psychological damage was even worse than the military loss. Their soldiers no longer believed they were safe anywhere. If human special forces could destroy the Iron Crown, then no ship, no base, and no fortress could truly protect them. Dominion fleets began retreating from human space. Some commanders refused to engage human forces at all. Others demanded peace negotiations immediately. The war that once seemed easy had suddenly become terrifying. Back on Earth, the 6 soldiers who destroyed the Iron Crown returned quietly to their base. There were no giant celebrations. No public announcements. Their mission had been classified. Officially, it never happened. But inside the military, every commander knew what they had done. Captain Elias Ward and his team had changed the entire war. Soon after, the Zyther Dominion sent diplomatic ships toward human territory. They asked for peace. The war that had terrified the galaxy ended faster than anyone expected. But the story did not end there. Years later, in military academies across the galaxy, instructors still tell the same lesson to new officers. They teach them about the war with humanity. They teach them about the fall of the Iron Crown. And they always give the same warning. Humans may not have the largest fleets. They may not control the most planets. But if humans ever send their special forces after you, the battle is already over. Because aliens may call them monsters. But humanity knows the truth. They are simply the soldiers sent when the war must end. And the galaxy will never forget the moment it learned to fear them.